It was all he said, she said. But the media ran with this for years. Years and years and years. And nobody said anything. And they knew this in 2017. Anyways, let's move on. So last week we started part one of a 3-part series on Russiagate Uncensored, is what I like to call it, because that's what we're doing. And we talked about CrowdStrike and their involvement in 2016 and all the ins and outs. And Turtle gave us a masterful understanding of how all those pieces fit together. And at the end of the day, what we found out is that because there's one particular bank that was part of one particular server in the Trump Tower in New York, they were able to basically spy on everything that he was doing, through a bunch of different loopholes or whatnot. I'm not sure if they're closed by now. It's probably the reason why they wanted to take his property because they didn't want people knowing about it. But tonight we're going to get into the ins and outs of the Trump presidency and the congressional inquiry into the Trump administration and what transpired during the testimonies. Let's see. We're going to start with early 2017. All right. So in that January of 2017, the FISA court agreed to extend the FBI's surveillance of Carter Page, which, I mean, I need to get in one of these days. I'm going to get into it with the FISA court because I really think that thing needs to go. Either it needs to go or there needs to be representation on the other side. Period. Like that, a court like that is so unconstitutional. It's not even funny. But anyways, he was a foreign advisor, Carter Page, to the Trump campaign, and in an advanced meeting with the U.S. intelligence officials about Russia's interference in the U.S. elections. Trump tweets, the intelligence briefing on the so-called Russian hacking was delayed. Perhaps more time is needed to build a case. Very strange. I remember that. And then, so between January and April in the first third of the year, January 6th, the Office and Director of National Intelligence releases a declassified intelligence report that says, let's see what we got here. This is the declassified report. If I can pull it up. And it says, quote, "We assess Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 aimed at the U.S. presidential election. Russia's goals were to undermine public faith in the U.S. democratic process, denigrate Secretary Clinton, and harm her electability and potential presidency. We further assess Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump." I had to go through and look up different keywords for that one. But anyways, so the DNI report contained no evidence of collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign. Intelligence officials briefed Trump on their findings. After the briefing, Comey remains alone in the room with the president-elect brief Trump on what Comey would later call some personally sensitive aspects of information assembled during the assessment that were salacious and unverified. So if you guys wanted to know whether this actually happened, that salacious and unverified line didn't come to us until 4 years later. Because nobody knew about this. It was all he said, she said. But the media ran with this for years. Years and years and years. And nobody said anything. And they knew this in 2017. All right, so on January 24th, 2 days after he takes office, the President Trump's national security advisor, Flynn, is interviewed by FBI agents. He's asked about 2 conversations that he had with Kislyak, a Russian ambassador to the United States, in December of 2016, and when Flynn was still a private citizen before Trump took office. Flynn tells the FBI agents that he had not asked Kislyak in a December 29, 2016 conversation for Russian to refrain from retaliating after the Obama administration announced sanctions that day against Russia for interfering in the 2016 elections. He also says he did not ask Kislyak in a December 22, 2016 conversation at Russia to delay or defeat a UN Security Council resolution approved December 23rd, 2016 that would have condemned Israel's building of settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Uh-oh. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. So essentially Obama gave sanctions to Russia on something that they created themselves. You see where we're going with this? Yeah. All right. So February 13th and 14th, Flynn resigns. He acknowledges that he misled Pence and others in the administration about his conversation with Kislyak. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Flynn?
I see Flynn's one of those Q guys. He's one of those officials that rests squarely in the eye of the storm, as it were. You know, if you all our Q guys out here just freaked out because I said that because of the storm, and then all the blue anons on the left that want to scream, "See, he's dog whistling racism. He's in the storm." You know, like I'm sorry, but with Flynn, I don't know how to take Flynn because he's one of those guys that like never said anything to this QAnon thing was just a phenomenon that happened in such a way that the media was allowed to beat us over the head with, and guys like Flynn never once came out and just said, no, I'm not involved with any of that. Instead, everything he did was just straight up QAnon dog whistle-y stuff, if not outright. And if you guys remember anything about what we've talked about QAnon, and we're going to have to redo it because our first couple episodes got borked. QAnon was Operation Trust 2.0 Electric Boogaloo which is just a replay of what the Bolsheviks did. I don't have time to go into all that. But if you go look into all that, Flynn is one of these guys that I don't know if he was just if he got in the Q PSYOP and they outed him, or if he was somebody that took the fall for it and was promoting the Q, like, you know, kind of egging on the low, you know, the Q people that all like got in on it and were like, oh yeah, Q's this thing and Trump's gonna arrest all the pedophiles in the government and all that. Like Flynn's one of those weird guys that's like in the middle of it, but I never could figure out if he was instigating it or if he was a patsy or if he believed it and was a fall guy. Like, I don't know. I just don't trust him.
Or maybe he instigated it not knowing what it was. And then when he realized what it was, he was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And then they threw it all on him because he backtracked. And the person that makes the most distance in between is typically the guy that you're going to look at. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He's somebody that still is technically on our side or whatever, but it's like, I don't know. I'd take him or leave him at this point, and personally.
Yeah. And if you guys want to know about that, you can go back in the archives of Roma Nation. That was actually our very first 3 shows.
Episode 3 is the only one you're going to get to watch because the first 2 got messed up in the recording process. We were still tooling, but we'll revisit down the road, and we'll do like we'll pre-record some stuff and put it out.
Right. And not only that, no, I think what we should do is we should just do one whole show on QAnon and just go from beginning to end and just condense it. Yeah, that'd be the easiest way. All right, so let's move on to March 4th. In a flurry of tweets, Trump accuses Obama of illegally tapping my phones in October during a very scared election process. He compares Obama's actions to Watergate and calls the former president a bad or sick guy. Trump presents no evidence that Obama was tapping his phones. On March 20th, FBI Director Comey confirms the existence of FBI investigation at a hearing in the House Intelligence Committee. Comey tells the committee that the agency is investigating the Russian government efforts and to interfere in the 2006 2016 presidential election, and it includes investigations in nature of links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign on the Russian government and whether there was any coordination between the campaign and Russia's efforts. And then in early April, the FISA court agrees to extend the FBI's surveillance of Carter Page, who was a foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign. All right, so let's go into Carter Page. All right, so Carter Page, Wikipedia. Carter William Page, born June 3rd, 1971, is an American petroleum industry consultant and a former foreign policy advisor to Donald Trump during his 2016 presidential election. Page is the founder and the managing partner of Global Energy Capital, a one-man investment fund and consulting firm specializing in Russian and Central Asian oil and gas business. Page is the focus of the 2017 special counsel investigation into the many suspicious links between Trump associates and the Russian officials and spies, and Russian interference on behalf of Trump during the 2016 presidential election. In April 2019, the Mueller report concluded that the investigation did not establish that Page coordinated in Russia's interference efforts. In December 2019, the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, Michael E. Horowitz, issued a report and an inquiry into the Federal Bureau of Investigations of the investigation of 2016 Trump campaign and its ties to Russia. Horowitz found fault with specific aspects of the FBI's conduct, including omissions of facts and false statements to the FISA court when applying for a warrant and conducting surveillance on the Page. Again, this is why the FISA court needs to go. But I'm pretty sure there's still people out there that think that, Russian collusion actually happened, which most of us don't. But anyways,